everyone, it's Sarah from Nova Scotia. My boyfriend brought me home this. He got from somewhere. Isn't this awesome? So I want to turn this into a coffee table. I think it's the right height. I think it'll work. I'm gonna take these bolts out and take it apart and then sand it down and put I don't know, maybe a galaxy type pour on here or something, and then resin it. It's gonna be super awesome. I'll take you through the whole process and we'll see what it looks like in the end. Okay, so after all this sanding and filling and sanding and filling, I'm still getting these cracks that are forming in here that I'm not liking at all. I want this whole thing to be one smooth surface. So I'm going to try to create a cost-efficient filler for this. These cracks I might fill with resin before I do the pour, but I want to fill these holes. And it will take a lot of resin to fill that. So I'm going to make a filler out of mulch. It's black, but I don't care because I'm painting over this anyway. I'm gonna mix this mulch with glue and fill in the holes and let it dry. It's probably gonna take days to dry. And maybe a couple coats, but I think I can fill these holes and then maybe finish off the top with a little bit of resin and then do my pour. So I'm gonna seal off the back. So first I'm going to tape off everything on the back, all the cracks. This is the top piece, and I want this to be perfectly smooth. So I'm gonna fill in all these cracks with resin, and this is where I filled in, I made that wood filler with mulch and glue, and it's solid, it worked amazing. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of resin to fill it in completely, and then I'll just sand it so it's perfectly smooth, flat everywhere before I prime it and do a pour on it. I'm gonna leave this middle hole open because I wanna be able to put an umbrella in here if I want to, on a nice day, if I want to roll it outside or whatever, and I have that option. So I'm going to leave that open, and I'm going to leave these open because I want to show those bolts. I'm just going to try to fill in this crack a little bit without overflowing. So hopefully this works. So I'm going to mix up some resin, and I have a scale, I have everything here. I'm actually going to be wearing a mask with this, so any information I need to add, I'm gonna just put a text at the bottom of the screen because you're not gonna hear me through this thing. Okay, this is been 24 hours. It's hardened. It's definitely going to need another coat or two because it's just seeping right in the cracks. Let's see how much damage we have on the back. Oh no. So it looks like I'm gonna have to maybe sand this off. This is really stuck on there and I did not have this taped off good enough, but I'm pretty sure that the sander will take care of this little paper and stuff. So I'm just gonna leave it as is and tape it up better now, so hopefully more doesn't leak out. I don't think any more will, because I'm thinking that it's all sealed now from the first coat, but just in case, I'm gonna retape. So this has been 2 coats of resin, and I'm pretty disappointed with, I'm actually still losing a lot at the back of it, coming up from somewhere, and it's not filling up. I am seeing it down there, so I think another coat or 2 is going to fill it. This is getting kind of expensive to do this, but I'm committed now. So I actually went and taped off the sides completely, because it's leaking from somewhere, and I'm hoping this will stop it, and I'm gonna not go all the way out to the edge. I'm hoping that it's gonna stay. And I put a plastic bag under it this time because it's just sticking to everything underneath it. So I'm gonna mix up some more resin and put it in these cracks, and hopefully another coat or 2 and we'll be good. This has been 3 coats now. It's just seeping out the cracks from somewhere and making a huge mess and not doing what I wanted it to do. The back is a disaster, so I'm just gonna focus on sanding down the front. I found another product I want to try that hopefully won't be as expensive and just run everywhere. So I'm gonna clean this up a bit and then use my other product and go from there. I found a trick. I can use a heat gun and heat up the resin really well, and then cut it off with a knife or just scrape it off, it's working really well. So I think I'm gonna be able to clean this up pretty good, and then it won't be so terrible underneath. So I have it cleaned up pretty good for now and sanded a bit. I want to fill these cracks and then I'll sand it down really good again. So I was able to get a lot of it off the back, a lot of the mess, and it's okay because this is the underneath part anyway. So I'll probably end up leaving it like this because it's going to be a lot of work to make it smooth, and there's no real reason to. So I'm going to tape off all the cracks and then fill it with this product. I got this from Canadian Tire. It was like $13 for this whole jug, a quart. It's going to be a lot cheaper than the resin that I was trying to do. And it's pourable, self-leveling, flexible, paintable, water-based. It's actually for filling in concrete cracks. So hopefully that'll work. It looks a lot cheaper than what I was doing. Now this product asks for it to be clean of any dust, so I'm going to use some baby wipes and wipe down the whole top. Alright, so the resin was working, it's just would have needed a lot more coats, and like I said, it was starting to get really expensive. I think normally doing a coffee table with one of these, you would just leave the cracks there, but because I already tried to fill them and I was committed, so I have to finish it now. And I do want like a really smooth flat finish for the top part of it. The rest of it can definitely look like a wire spool. These holes are good. This one will need a little more fill. So I'm going to do this one, and I want to fill in these cracks. The other piece was fine. The resin worked for that. So we'll get started with this. I guess I need to snip the top off. Okay. So this has had some time to settle. I've added a little more. I'd rather do a few coats than to have it all run out the back. And I have checked a few times. So far so good. So I'm going to scrape the excess off because I have a feeling that this is going to be horrible to try to sand down. So I'm gonna get as much off as I can. So this product takes an hour to dry, it says, and 7 days to cure. So I'm gonna be able to add a couple coats as I need it, and then I'll let it cure a whole week before I do a pour on it. Now I cleaned this up, I sanded off the excess, and I have left with this slight groove that I'm now going to fill with resin, and it should be perfect and ready to go. So I sanded these down as best I could, and now I'm going to give them a coat of gesso. I decided to go with a white gesso because I'm going to do a white pour. I think I'm going to do a Dutch pour because I think it's going to be a little more forgiving with my less than perfect surface. I don't really trust my sanding skills all that much, and it's a little bit rough in places, so I think the Dutch pour will hide a lot of that. I'm just using a gesso that I got from Amazon. Okay, I'm ready to finally start the pour. I'm going to do the bottom part first because it'll kind of give me a little bit of a practice run. I'm going to do white for the base. My consistency for the base color is thinner than my colors. My colors are how I always mix. There's a link to that in the description. And my base coat's thinner. I can give you the recipe. I use Mont Marte. I haven't tried other ones, so I can't comment on those. But with Mont Marte, I use 4 ounces of Elmer's glue, 4 ounces of Floetrol, 4 ounces of water, 4 ounces of paint, and 2 ounces of Liquitex pour medium, and that gives me the perfect consistency. If I take a stick or anything and drizzle it, there's no mound left in there, and that's how I like it for the base. For the other colors, there's a bit of one. So this will be covered, so I don't need to do anything in here. I'm just going to focus on the outside. It's going pretty well so far, except that I'm getting a lot of paint pooling in the centerpiece, so I need help to have the holes drilled to let it drain out. Now I'm just helping to guide the paint to go down the holes that were drilled in there. Alright, now to add some finer details with my airbrush. I'm just using this to blow paint. There's no paint in the brush, it's just the air. And now to touch up my sides to make sure they're all well covered. And one last cleaning of the track to make sure the paint doesn't dry in there. Alright, I am ready to do the top now. I had to get these holes drilled through because these need to be able to fit back down through there. And also, when I do this pour, a lot of paint's going to pool in there and I want that to drain. Now it's time to finish it off so I can put it back together. So I am priming and painting the boards, just a titanium white. I don't have anything mixed with this. It's just straight paint. Painted on there, probably 2 coats, and then I'll get on with the rest of it. I just given the underneath a coat of paint just to cover up the ugliness of it. I got most of the mess off, but it's underneath, it doesn't matter, but I just wanted to kind of give it something to cover it. And now I'm taping it off to protect it because I'm going to start the resin. Here's the part that really brings it to life. I'm using art resin. This is a really high quality resin. It's made specifically for art, and it actually has a really non-yellowing qualities. So I pour this on here. It's mixed 1-to-1. Spread it out evenly to make sure I don't miss anything or anything like that. If you do want more info, I do have a full tutorial on this that I have a link to a video in the description you can watch if you like. So I'm just spreading this out evenly with my hand and then getting rid of all the bubbles with a torch.
When resin is cured, this is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my God. I did 2 coats. It's flawless. Oh, it's perfect. Oh my God, this is gonna be so nice put together.
Now it's time to take care of the resin bumps that dried on the bottom. I'm glad I put tape on here because it really did protect it, but some of it gets stuck, and I just used my hair dryer to soften it up a little bit and then a blade to scrape it off. And now to add some resin to the boards. Just the same thing, just spread it around, make sure they're covered. 1 coat is probably good on these. It's just to hold it together, but I want the whole thing to be nice and smooth and shiny and all matching. Here's all the bolts I took off. I am going to scrub these down with an SOS pad to get rid of that rust. And then I'm going to use a spray paint to make them chrome and beautiful. So I'll start off with a primer. I'm just going to give them a couple coats of this to hopefully keep the rust from coming back. I'll let that dry. It dries pretty quick in between coats. I just did a couple. And then I went and got a chrome spray paint from Canadian Tire. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to give these a couple coats and should bring them back so they look brand new. And now it's time to put it back together. This gave me some trouble. I really played around with this for a bit, trying to get these bolts in and trying to get it put together. I struggled with this for quite a while actually before I realized that the boards were actually too long now after the resin and all the paint and everything, so they needed to be cut down. But I played with this for a while to kind of, I was trying and it just wasn't working at all. So finally figured it out and had to get my boyfriend to cut them down for me. So after that it did go better, but it was still quite a bit of a struggle. Like you try to get one piece in and another one pops out, and after a while I finally started putting one piece in at a time and taping it to hold it into place, and that even went crazy, but eventually I got it together. Here's all the hardware. It turned out really good with the chrome spray paint. So I'm just putting these on here and adding the bolts and tightening them up. So it turned out that we cut the boards down too far, so now the bolts are too long and they're sticking at the top. So I'm just taping it off to protect the surface since it's perfect, and I'm getting my boyfriend to clip them off with his fancy tools. So since they didn't cut perfectly smooth, I'm just filing down the edges with a file and then touching up a little spot of paint that got nicked around the outside of it. So now I want to cover this with resin again, and I want it to be thick enough to cover the bolts. So I have this idea to build a dam kind of thing with tape, fill it with resin, spread it out, let it sit for a few hours until it's kind of starting to harden, and then pull the tape off and let it soften over the sides. Except that when it was time to go to bed, it wasn't hardened at all yet, so I had to leave it, and then I went up the next morning to check, and it was hardened too much, and the tape had fallen into the resin and dried with ridges. Super disappointed. So here I am, dressed for work, 6 o'clock in the morning, trying to get this off before it's completely hardened. It was still a little soft, but I had to slice this and cut it with a knife, get as much of the tape off as I could, and then come out after work and try to fix it. So not ideal. I don't recommend doing a thick coat like that. So here I am after work. Now it's completely hard because I didn't have time before work. So then I had to use my hairdryer to heat it and slice it with a blade to get the ridge off. Now thinking I got it smooth enough, I added another coat of resin. So many coats of resin on this. So I added another coat, let it harden, and then realized that the edges were still not smooth. So the only thing to do is sand it down, try to get it as best as I can. So sand down the edge, smooth as I can, and then it will be time to put another coat of resin on. I always make sure I wipe it down after I sand it to make sure I get rid of any dust. I don't want the resin to seal that in forever. So last coat, finally. I could have probably got away with 3 coats less than this if I had done a few things right, which, you know, I learned, so I will do things differently next time. So last coat, spread it out really well, cover the edges completely because I don't want to do this again, and let it cure, and this should be almost ready. I want this to be able to wheel around, so I picked up some wheels from Canadian Tire that have a swivel, and of course I'm going to get my boyfriend to help me do this again because I can't be trusted with tools. And here it is, finally. I just love how this turned out, the whole thing, all of it. It's just, there's so much shimmering detail, and it just looks so nice in the sun. I really like how these bolts show. I've asked some people, and some people liked them, some people didn't. Mostly people that really appreciated that it's a wire reel really like the bolts, but some other people thought it took away from the aesthetic. So what do you think of that? Do you like it or not like it? Overall, I think this is amazing. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect. There's some flaws here and there, but you know, it's a wire reel, right? And I learned so much. So I will definitely do something like this again. Probably will take me less time, I'm guessing, but I don't know, I'm really happy with this. And now I have that hole left there that I can put like a, I don't know, something in. I'll find fancy ashtray or something, and then I won't lose anything inside of it. And then I have the option to push this outside in the summer on a nice day and put an umbrella in it and use it like that. So let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.